The shotgun blast echoed through the cornfields like God's own thunder, shattering the fragile peace of our family's annual barbecue. My brother Donovan's face twisted in rage as he shoved me against the splintered fence, his breath hot and whiskey-soured against my ear. "You're a goddamn embarrassment, Riley, ruining everything we've built." In that split second, as blood trickled from my split lip and the crowd of aunts, uncles, and neighbors froze in horrified silence, I realized the secret I'd buried for years had just clawed its way out, leaving me exposed and alone under the relentless Kansas sun. I never meant for it to explode like that. Growing up in Eldridge, Kansas, a speck on the map where the flatlands stretch forever and Sundays are for church and potlucks, being gay wasn't just taboo. It was a curse, a stain on the family name. Donovan and I were the last of the Hargrove boys, raised by a widowed mom who scrubbed floors at the local hospital to keep our roof from caving in. He was the golden child, quarterback in high school, now a foreman at the grain silo, married to a sweet girl named Becca with a baby on the way. Me? I was the quiet one, fixing cars at the garage on Main Street, dreaming in silence about boys who looked like they stepped out of those forbidden magazines I'd hide under my mattress. It started unraveling months earlier, subtle as a hairline crack in the foundation. I'd been seeing this guy, quietly. His name was Alex, a drifter passing through on his way to California, with eyes like storm clouds and a laugh that made my chest ache. We met at the roadside bar on the edge of town, the kind with sticky floors and a jukebox that only played Johnny Cash. One night, after too many beers, he kissed me in the parking lot, right there under the sodium lights. Felt like coming alive, like the world finally made sense. But Eldridge has eyes everywhere. Old Mrs. Hargrove, no relation, thank God, spotted us from her porch across the street and whispered it to half the county by dawn. Donovan cornered me the next day in the garage, grease still smeared on my hands from an oil change. "What the hell, Riley? Folks are talking. You trying to drag us all down?" His voice was low, laced with that big brother authority he'd wielded since Dad died in the tractor accident when we were kids. I denied it at first, stammered something about minding our own business. But he wasn't buying it. "Mom's already got the pastor praying for you. And Becca? She's mortified. Fix this or you're out." I fixed it the only way I knew how. I ended things with Alex that night. He left town without a fight, just packed his duffel and gave me a sad smile that haunts me still. Small towns eat souls, Riley. Don't let 'em chew yours up. I threw myself into work, smiling through the sidelong glances at the diner, the way conversations hushed when I walked into the post office. Mom tried to bridge it, her hands trembling as she pressed a plate of apple pie into my lap one evening. "The Lord's got a plan, son. Just pray harder." But her eyes were hollow, like she'd aged a decade overnight. The barbecue was supposed to be our reset button. 4th of July, red, white, and blue banners flapping from the old oak in the backyard. The air thick with the sizzle of burgers and the sharp tang of fireworks yet to come. Donovan manned the grill like a king, flipping patties and cracking jokes about the Royals' latest losing streak. I hung back, nursing a lukewarm beer, watching Becca's belly swell under her sundress as she chatted with the cousins. It was almost normal, until Uncle Ray, 3 sheets to the wind, clapped me on the back too hard and slurred. "Heard you been keeping some queer company, nephew. Better watch it, or you'll end up like that fairy from Wichita who got run out last year." The yard went still. Forks clattered against plates. Donovan's spatula froze mid-air, and then he was on me, dragging me toward the fence line like I was a rabid dog. That's when the shotgun came out, not loaded, I don't think, but the threat was real enough. He kept it in the shed for coyotes, but in that moment, it might as well have been aimed at my heart. "Say it ain't true," he bellowed, the veins in his neck bulging like rivers about to flood. "Tell him you're not some freak." The crowd murmured, a wave of judgment crashing over me. Aunt Marlene crossed herself. Little Timmy, my 8-year-old cousin, hid behind his dad's legs. I tasted blood, metallic and bitter, and something inside me snapped. "It's true, Don. Has been for years. And I'm done pretending." He swung then, not with the gun, but his fist, connected with my jaw, sending stars exploding across my vision. I hit the ground hard, the dry earth grinding into my palms. Through the haze, I saw Mom's face crumple, her apron clutched like a lifeline. "Donovan, stop. He's your blood." But he was beyond hearing, red-faced and roaring. "You're a disgrace. Get out. Get the hell off this land." I stumbled to my feet, the world tilting, and that's when the truck pulled up. Gravel crunched under tires that looked too fancy for our dirt road. A sleek black Ford F-150, the kind that screamed corporate money in a town of rusted pickups. The doors swung open, and out stepped Mr. Harlan Graves, Donovan's boss from the silo operation. Harlan was a transplant from Chicago, mid-40s, with salt and pepper hair and a jawline that could cut glass. He ran the place with a fair hand but zero tolerance for bullshit. Whispers said he'd made his fortune in commodities before buying up half the county's grain contracts. Donovan idolized him, always bragging about how Harlan had saved the family business after the last recession. Harlan took one look at the scene. The shotgun dangling from Donovan's white-knuckled grip, my bloody lip, the stunned faces, and his expression hardened like flint. "What in God's name is going on here, Donovan?" His voice was calm, but it carried the weight of authority, the kind that makes grown men straighten up. Donovan faltered, lowering the gun but not his guard. "Nothing you need to concern yourself with, Mr. Graves. Family matter." Harlan's eyes flicked to me, sharp and assessing, then back to my brother. "Looks like more than that. Riley, you all right?" It was the first time anyone had asked me that all day. I nodded, wiping blood on my sleeve, too shell-shocked to speak. "Mr. Graves, Riley hears. He's..." Donovan trailed off, gesturing vaguely, his bravado cracking under the boss's gaze. "He's gay," Harlan finished matter-of-fact, like he was reading a weather report. The word hung in the air, heavier than the humidity. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Harlan didn't flinch. He stepped forward, placing himself between me and Donovan, his broad shoulders a barrier I hadn't earned but desperately needed. "And if that's a problem for you, son, then it's a problem for me. Because Riley's one of the best damn mechanics I've got on subcontract. Shows up early, works late, and fixes problems before they break. That's the kind of man this town needs. Not whatever poison you're spewing right now." Donovan's face drained of color. "But sir..." "No buts." Harlan's tone sharpened, a whip crack in the tension. "I came to talk business about that expansion we discussed. But this is why good people leave places like Eldridge. Fear. Bigotry dressed up as family values." He turned to the crowd, his voice rising just enough to command silence. "Y'all ought to be ashamed. Hiding behind Bibles while a boy's getting beaten for loving who he loves. My own brother. Hell, he was like Riley. Hid it till it killed him. Pills and a bottle, alone in a motel off I-70. I won't watch that happen again. Not on my watch." The revelation landed like a bomb. Harlan Graves, the unflappable boss man, had a story? Whispers erupted. Had anyone known? Donovan looked like he'd been gut-punched, the shotgun slipping from his fingers to clatter against the fence. Mom rushed forward then, pulling me into her arms, sobbing apologies into my shoulder. "Oh, Riley, forgive me. I was scared. For all of us." Harlan clapped a hand on my back, firm and steady. "Come by the office Monday, kid. We've got a full-time spot opening up, benefits, the works. And if your brother's got a problem with it, he can explain why he's short-staffed." I drove home that night in my beat-up Chevy, the radio crackling with some old Springsteen tune about thunder roads and broken promises. My lip throbbed, but my heart? It was lighter than it had been in years. Donovan didn't call, didn't text. Becca did, though, a hesitant voicemail. "He'll come around, Riley. He loves you. We're all just figuring it out." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Harlan kept his word. The job came with a raise and a corner desk in the silo's admin building, overlooking the endless golden fields. He didn't hover, but he'd drop by with coffee, sharing stories of Chicago's underground scene in the 90s, drag shows and dive bars, the pulse of a city that didn't care who you loved. "Eldridge ain't ready yet," He'd say with a wry smile, "But folks like you? You're the ones who changed that." Donovan showed up at my door 2 Sundays later, hat in hand, eyes downcast. I was wrong, dead wrong. We sat on the porch steps, the fireflies dancing like hesitant apologies. He talked about his own fears, the baby coming, the pressure to be the man of the family, how Dad's ghost loomed larger than ever. I thought if I pushed hard enough, it'd fix you, make us normal. I told him about Alex, about the ache of silence, about how pretending had carved me hollow. By the time the stars wheeled overhead, we were brothers again. Not perfect, but real. Harlan became more than a boss. Late shifts turned into quiet dinners at the diner, his laugh thawing the walls I'd built. There was a spark there, unspoken but electric. A brush of hands over shared fries, a lingering glance across the cab of his truck. He never pushed. Neither did I. But one rainy evening, as thunder rattled the windows and the world outside blurred to gray, he said, "Riley, life's too short for half measures. I've got a place in Wichita, bigger town, fewer stairs. Room for two, if you're game." I thought of the shotgun's echo, the crowd's judgment, the way Donovan's fist had felt like betrayal's final punctuation. And I thought of Harlan's stand, that unflinching shield in the backyard dust. "Yeah," I whispered, my voice steady for the first time. "I'm game." We left Eldridge in the fall, leaves turning crimson like old wounds healing. Mom visits every other weekend, bringing pie and progress, therapy pamphlets, and a quiet pride in her eyes. Donovan's calls are regular now, laced with baby updates and baseball scores. The town's whispers faded to irrelevance. Word got around about Harlan's speech, and slowly, doors cracked open. A kid at the garage confided in me last month, trembling but hopeful. "Thanks for being you, Mr. Hargrove. It's not a fairy tale, no grand parades or instant acceptance. Some Sundays still sting, memories sharp as barbed wire. But in the quiet of our Wichita apartment, with Harlan's arm around me and the city lights winking like promises kept, I know this. Disgrace isn't in who you love, it's in letting fear win. And that day in the cornfields, it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of me, of us, of a family remade not in silence, but in standing tall.